The songs, the stories, the animation, Disney movies have a lot to love, and are enjoyed by millions of children all over the world. But a whole film can completely change when the movie is paused. Kids may look at beloved Disney characters in a whole new light after seeing several paused scenes that can be easily misinterpreted at such a young age. Here is ScreenRant's list of 10 paused Disney moments that kids can misinterpret.
Heard your princess was a sight lovely to see.
The Genie and the Sultan. Aladdin is known for the epic love story between the title character and the forbidden princess, Jasmine. Even though they may play the romantic leads in the film, several other couple combinations are possible. Some fans may prefer the dark horse couple of Jafar and Jasmine. Some may want to see Aladdin end up with another girl from the streets of Agrabah. And then there's the paused scene that showcased the odd pairing of the Genie and the Sultan. Even as the film pushed the love story of Aladdin and Jasmine into our faces, it's hard not to ignore several of the other characters and their potential for love. With some poorly placed body positions, it appeared that the Genie was using his powers for a little more than just helping Aladdin snag his girl. Not only was the Genie in a dominant pose over the Sultan, but he was dressed just like him. What kind of love fantasy is that? Anyone that has seen Aladdin knows that the Sultan is a pretty odd character. It wouldn't be that surprising to see him open to a relationship with a magical genie just to see where things could go. The look on his face was full of shock and surprise, but there was clearly a little intrigue there too. Obviously, the movie series didn't take this moment any further, but there's probably some fan fiction out there that showcases what life would be like in Agrabah with the Genie and the Sultan ruling the roost together.
No weaknesses whatsoever.
An exhausted Hercules. Hercules may be the god of strength, but apparently every god has his limits. In the 1997 animated hit Hercules, he spent a good portion of the movie trying to get the attention of the confident and strong-willed Meg, despite the growing presence of the evil Hades. Throughout the animated film, Hercules does battle with giant monsters, three-headed hydras, and even a titanic cyclops. Between those battles, it appeared as if Hercules had a little downtime to spend with Meg. The two characters playfully flirted with each other throughout the film, but there was barely a kiss or romantic gesture seen on the screen. In this very suggestive screenshot, Hercules and Meg look both mentally and physically exhausted. And anyone that sees this paused moment will think that the exhaustion is just from battling monsters. The look on Meg alone is enough to give it all away. Her hair is a mess, she appears quite sweaty, and seems completely out of breath as she clings onto her Herculean god. Hercules himself can't keep his cool either. The charming god of strength looks completely out of his element, with a dazed look on his face. At least his hair is still in good shape. This all explains why Hercules chose to stay on Earth rather than live out the rest of his life as a god amongst the clouds. Good choice, Herc.
Sleep.
A Jungle Book Psychosis. The story of Mowgli and his jungle adventures has been an odd one that no one really considered. An orangutan king, talking animals, a dancing bear? The animated Jungle Book and the recent live-action remake may be considered Disney classics, but has anyone actually considered what Mowgli's true story is?
Don't worry about me.
This young, abandoned boy just happened to befriend a bunch of wild animals and sing musical numbers with them? There's something fishy about that, and a few paused moments can showcase exactly how suspicious the whole story is. During a paused moment of the animated Jungle Book, we see a close-up shot of the Black Panther, Bagheera. Bagheera played the role of a loyal best friend and mentor to Mowgli, despite the predatory nature of these animals in real life. The close-up shot of Bagheera showcases the panther with 6 eyes instead of 2. Was this a mistake? Or was it a slight revelation that Mowgli's whole jungle adventure was all just a crazy trip on some bad hallucinogens that Mowgli mistook for survival food? Using this theory, the whole story kinda starts to make sense. It would give Mowgli the ability to talk to multiple animals, and allows you to enjoy the movie more. Knowing that it's all a psychedelic dream will eliminate any of the questions that you previously had. While Mowgli's visions are typically clear, the 6-eyed Bagheera showcased how bad they could actually get.
What's the matter with his ears? I don't see nothing wrong with him.
Timothy Q. Mouse. Training an elephant to fly can be exhausting. Just ask Timothy Q. Mouse, one of the lead characters in the animated classic Dumbo. Timothy is inspired by Dumbo and wants to help the young elephant free his mother from captivity. I guess Timothy wasn't too inspired, because shortly in the film he jumps into a vat of champagne and gets really bubbly. The frozen screenshot of Timothy Q. Mouse that has spread around the internet is not something made to look like he's under the influence. The character really was in the movie. In the scene before this shot, a group of clowns are shown pouring champagne into the large barrel. Made in 1941, Disney films were more open to showcasing the use of alcohol or smoking by various characters. Not only did Timothy Mouse get drunk with Dumbo, but the pair went on a binge, saw visions of pink elephants, and eventually blacked out until they woke up in a treetop the next morning. Now that's a party. This screenshot of Timothy Mouse captures it all, showing a beloved Disney character under the influence and ready to party with all the other circus animals. Not only is he wasted, but he's stumbling around, burping bubbles, and looking about as buzzed as a mouse could get. I guess that's why Mickey got all the fame. Timothy was just too drunk to care. As the live-action remake of Dumbo moves forward, time will only tell if the same scene will be used again with modern audiences. What do you think? Would something like this fly in today's day and age at Disney? Pinocchio. In the 1940 animated film Pinocchio, the title character was a lively wooden puppet that had dreams of one day becoming a real boy. After a visit by a magical fairy, he learned exactly how he could do this. It included the ability to be brave, truthful, and unselfish. While these were important for the character's journey, he may have had a few side stops along the way. Pinocchio may be a puppet made of wood, but from the looks of a specific shot, it looked like that wasn't stopping him from enjoying some suspicious plants in his downtime. The magical fairy never mentioned anything about smoking, and that's exactly what it looks like Pinocchio is doing in the shot. I guess Geppetto could not only make puppets, but he was probably skilled at making other handy devices. The only thing left to figure out from this suspicious screenshot is who exactly Pinocchio got the stuff from. Jiminy Cricket seems to have some good resources, but my money is on the suspicious duo of Honest John the Fox and Gideon the Cat. Those two seem to know the back streets of Pinocchio's village, and spent a good portion of the film trying to trick the puppet. Either way, if Pinocchio did end up enjoying some illicit contraband, doing that wouldn't necessarily go against the fairy's wishes. He could still enjoy it all while still being brave, truthful, and unselfish.
Well, oh, the prince. I haven't met the prince.
The prince?
Prince Charming's Second Life. The world of Disney is filled with a lot of inspiring and great love stories. There's Sleeping Beauty and Prince Philip, there's Simba and Nala, there's Anna and Kristoff. Even though Cinderella is a classic Disney animated film, the love story does not live up to some of the other epics. Most of this blame can be placed directly on Prince Charming. Boring and undeveloped, Prince Charming may seek a princess to lead the land with, but we don't get to know much about him other than his obsession with fancy glass dress shoes. Small hints throughout Cinderella may showcase that Prince Charming is not as charming as he's supposed to be. During this one specific shot, we get a glimpse of Charming during his big ball. Prince Charming not only looks like he'd rather be anywhere else, but his demeanor, outfit, and expression make it seem like he was seeking another prince rather than a princess. The white gloves, the lips that look like lipstick has been pressed against them, etc, etc. Maybe Disney was a little more progressive than they actually seemed back in the 1950s. His polite yawn may be an indicator of what's to come in the future after the happily ever after with Cinderella. Even a fairy godmother can't save this relationship. The 2014 Disney film Into the Woods took this premise a little further, turning Prince Charming into a full-fledged cheater. That seems about right, especially when looking at this screenshot again. Flynn's Problems. Flynn Rider is one of the main characters in Tangled, and has always lived a life on the run. Sure, he was a petty thief, but there was clearly something more to his constant movements. Maybe it was just a medical condition all along. Multiple paused moments in the 2010 animated film showcase some odd looks on Flynn's face. Each of these could be easily interpreted as some type of medical issue for Flynn. Our guess? Irritable bowel syndrome. During the scene inside a pub, a paused moment shows a look of despair on Flynn's face. After getting tossed around the place, did his bowels kick in? That's certainly what it looks like. Even though his face looks like it was in a lot of pain, he does seem to have some sense of relief. Another scene in the film makes it look like his disease has come back to haunt him. With Rapunzel's hair wrapped around his neck, Flynn makes his strangest face in the film as his eyes bug out and his mouth shows some exasperation. He's clearly going through some type of bowel issues here. It's just too bad that Rapunzel doesn't have the time or the patience to let him get his business done. Children watching these scenes may have some ideas about Flynn and his journey deep into the forest. He unintentionally found Rapunzel, but maybe he was just looking for a quiet place to go to the bathroom all along.
Oh my.
Jane's botched BOTOX. When you live a life being raised by gorillas, you will lose touch with a lot of modern technology and society. In the 1999 film Tarzan, we watch the hero get raised by animals and live a simple life with just a loincloth around his body. Living deep in the jungle keeps him away from vehicles, clothes, modern food, and even the social media of the day. Eventually, Tarzan meets the woman that'll change his life forever. Jane introduced Tarzan to modern conveniences, including clothes, cooking tools, and weapons like guns. Apparently, Jane was also one of the first people to ever get Botox, and it didn't go so well. In a freeze frame where Tarzan carries Jane to safety, her hand swings up and nails Tarzan in the face. While Tarzan's face looks like a normal reaction to a slap, Jane's face becomes completely distorted. Her eyes look uneven, her cheeks are pointing in different directions, and it looks like her smile is frozen in place. All of these issues are typical signs of a botched Botox injection. While the time frame of the 1800s may make it seem far-fetched, Jane was traveling with some pretty sophisticated scientists and inventors. She could have been using some experimental version of the now popular cosmetic drug. It's no wonder that after spending weeks in the jungle with Tarzan, Jane's skin remains as flawless as ever.
I want to do something for her. But what?
Beast's eating disorder. Beauty and the Beast is a classic Disney tale, and the 1991 animated film is one of the few films to ever get nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards. The massive popularity of both the animated film and the live-action remake has put a lot of scrutiny on the story. It's easy to notice a lot of flaws, but one shot can showcase a whole undeveloped storyline that was never fully shown. In the shot, the Beast stuffs his face with platters of food, refusing to use forks and knives like a typical human. Not only does he eat messily, but he eats more than you can imagine. Just glancing at this frame alone will make you think that the Beast has an eating disorder. Exhibit A. The Beast was not always a beast. He was once a human. Not just any ordinary human, but a lavish prince that probably spent years attending formal dinners and taking etiquette classes. Just because he's transformed doesn't mean that he's lost his manners. Another big piece of evidence. More than half of the transformed people are there just to serve him food. There's dozens of plates, cooks, teacups, and kettles. A lavish meal is made every night, and before Belle arrived, it was just the Beast eating these meals. Sure, the screenshot of the Beast may look silly, but it could also be an indication of some type of binge-eating issue. Hopefully, children don't pick up on any of these issues and transfer it into their own lives.
So lonely.
Frozen fever. The massive success of the 2013 film Frozen led to a huge demand to see more content. Before Frozen 2 went into production, fans were treated with a short film entitled Frozen Fever. In the story, Elsa, Kristoff, Olaf, and other characters start to plan a huge birthday bash for Anna, until Elsa comes down with a cold. The sneezes from her cold produce little snowmen known as Snowgies, but there is more than meets the eye when you take a look at a key shot from the film. A look at Elsa showcased her surrounded by a huge puff of smoke inside a small wooden structure. Elsa's not avoiding this smoke at all, but she actually waves her hands to inhale it. What exactly is this smoke, and how does it contribute to Elsa's powers? Does anyone else know about this secret shed? Not only would children be suspicious of this paused moment, but Anna is looking on suspiciously in the background. Anna may need to look out for what she's carrying though. That giant loaf of bread could end up being a huge craving for Elsa. Elsa lives a very stressful life as the Snow Queen. She must keep her kingdom at peace, manage her powers, and ensure that another ice disaster doesn't happen again. It would be reasonable that Elsa would seek a little relaxation and privacy. Too bad her nosy sister is there to ruin the real party. Disney movies are some of the most paused movies out there, usually because eagle-eyed Easter egg hunters are keen to spot fun intentional inclusions by Disney's animators, such as characters from other movies making cameos in the background. However, quite often, pausing Disney movies at just the right time can result in an image Disney might not be so keen for you to see. Whether it's a character looking a little less attractive than they usually do, a situation being made to look inappropriate when taken out of context, or otherwise, there are some Disney movie screenshots that weren't meant to be seen when paused. This video will take a look at some entertaining examples of that. We hope you enjoy it, and make sure you subscribe to ScreenRant's YouTube channel to enjoy more like it in the future. Here are 10 paused Disney moments they don't want you to know about. The Little Mermaid. In 1989's The Little Mermaid, the second time Ariel and Eric meet is when Eric discovers Ariel on a beach after she'd lost her voice. The first time they'd met, Ariel saved Eric from drowning and disappeared just as he regained consciousness. So in this second meeting, Eric only vaguely recognized her. Ariel's desperate attempts to communicate with Eric without her voice resulted in some very exaggerated hand gestures, which Eric seemed to join in with. If you pause the movie at just the right time, they don't look like Disney characters at all. The pair actually look more like members of The Sopranos. The Princess and the Frog. Like the aforementioned Flynn Rider, Charlotte LaBouffe from 2009's The Princess and the Frog was a very attractive character. In this case, of course, of the female variety. Disney's intentions were for the Southern Belle to be physically beautiful at all times, but a paused moment from one particular scene spoils that notion. It comes in the scene when Charlotte puts Tiana's tiara on her head in the bedroom. As Charlotte adjusts her top, her face, for a mere moment, looks absolutely ghastly and almost pig-like. Yikes.
Back into the fray. Wish me luck.
Toy Story 2. 1999's Toy Story 2 saw the introduction of some new talking toys that weren't in the first movie, one of them being the excitable Jessie.
Oh, Bullseye! We're part of a family again!
Buzz Lightyear immediately found himself attracted to the cowgirl and introduced himself to her in bumbling fashion. Jessie seemed impressed and immediately grabbed Buzz to tell him how sweet she thought he was. But if you pause that scene at a very specific moment, it looks as though she's drunk as hell, with Buzz looking on, concerned and unimpressed at her unladylike behavior.
Golly.
The Fox and the Hound. 1981's The Fox and the Hound follows the exploits of the titular young red fox, Todd, as he grows into adulthood and tries to make a life for himself in the forest. At one point, he encounters the female fox Vixie for the first time, and soon after meeting her, which was initially disastrous after he failed to catch a fish to impress her, she begins to show him affection, which includes rubbing herself against him. Feeling the physical affection of a female for the first time seems to be too much for Todd, and if you pause the movie at just the right moment, it looks as though he's reached a point of pleasure unsuitable for young viewers.
Number 15, a hero is only as good as his weapon.
Hercules. Hercules is, of course, one of the most macho characters in fiction. That's kind of his shtick, after all. In his titular 1997 movie, he meets Meg after saving her from the giant centaur known as Nessus by defeating the beast with his phenomenal strength. But a few moments later, he doesn't look so macho. When he goes to see how Meg is, as she's cleaning her hair in some nearby water, he takes a hit to the face from her soaking locks when she turns around. Pause the scene at just the right moment, and you'll see Herc looking more like the sassiest diva in town than a super strong heroic warrior. Cinderella. 1950's Cinderella is one of the sweetest, most innocent, and quintessentially Disney movies that the company has ever produced. Nobody could ever take any scenes out of context from such a family-friendly Disney classic, right? Right? Wrong. In the scene in which the Grand Duke and the palace footman are peering over the balcony, pausing it at a certain point looks as though the pair are indulging in some male-on-male intimacy that is very unsuitable for children's eyes. With the Duke positioned behind, he certainly appears to be enjoying it. The footman, however, not so much. Aladdin. There are a lot of scenes in 1992's Aladdin in which the titular character is in motion, and when paused, performing some anatomically impossible poses. But this one takes the cake. The thief and street urchin turned hero is having one of his typical altercations with the palace guards, when one of the guards loses his pants. It's the scene in which he uses a fish as a makeshift pair of pants. Aladdin stretches whilst running, and the shape of his body basically looks like he's broken every bone he's got. Seriously, nobody can make their body stretch and twist like that.
All this for a loaf of bread?
The Emperor's New Groove. The Emperor's New Groove was a 2000 movie about the 18-year-old selfish, spoiled, and sarcastic titular emperor Kuzco. The whole movie's plot is based around him learning to become a better person after being turned into a llama, and it's that scene we're referring to here. As Kuzco's transformation takes place while he sat at a table with Yzma and Kronk, if you pause the movie at a certain point mid-transformation, you'll find that he looks like some animated characters from a completely different and far more adult franchise, a certain Beavis and Butthead. Beauty and the Beast. There may be a fantastic live-action remake of Beauty and the Beast coming out this year, but nobody can forget the wonderful 1991 animated version of the classic tale. As with all interpretations of the story, it featured the vain hunter Gaston, and his loyal yet often abused sidekick Le Fou. There's a scene in which Le Fou serenades Gaston with a song about how great he is, and it includes a moment in which Le Fou wraps a man's belt around Gaston's neck to demonstrate how thick and muscular it is. Unfortunately, when paused, there's a moment in which Gaston looks as though he's experimenting with a little BDSM. Frozen. When Anna and Hans first meet in 2013's Frozen, Hans and his horse inadvertently knock Anna into a boat.
Hey!
Their subsequent interactions are extremely awkward, both physically and verbally, and this results in a scene that looks a little non-PG, let's say, when it's paused. Anna falls on top of Hans, and if you pause it at just the right or wrong frame, depending on how you look at it, it looks like Anna is lost in a moment of physical ecstasy, while Hans looks as though he's embarrassed that his participation in the encounter has just come to a premature end. Disney movies are supposed to be for kids, right? While that might have been the idea originally, it seems like the studio has been more and more keen to crank out content for the whole family to enjoy. While this sometimes means more compelling and mature stories, it often also means some very targeted and often risque adult jokes. For this list, we're taking a look at some of the best ones, for our video of 10 Disney moments that only adults will understand. We hope you enjoy this list, and be sure to subscribe to ScreenRant for more awesome content every single day. And before we start, can you guess this movie from these emojis? Stay tuned for the answer at the end of our video.
Where's my nose?
Here it is.
Here's your arm.
Give me that. That's
Honey,
mine.
the mustache?
Toy Story 3. Toy Story 3 is one of those Disney movies that can make even the most grown-up viewer totally break down in tears. Along with some seriously emotional moments, the movie also brings us one of the most ruthless Disney villains to date, in the form of Lotso. The evil bear is maniacal and rude, so it's no surprise that he actually prompts one of the most risque adult jokes in the history of Disney movies. At one point, Lotso doesn't like what Mrs. Potato Head is saying, so instead of telling her so, he just pops the lips right off her face. Mr. Potato Head was not too happy.
No one takes my wife's mouth, except me.
If you don't understand that joke, it's probably best we don't explain it to you. Toy Story. When you're talking about kids' movies that can easily be appreciated by adults, the Toy Story franchise might just take the cake. The original film might have less sneaky adult moments than its two sequels, but it does have one mature moment that once you understand it will definitely make you laugh. In one scene, we get to see some pretty messed up toys at Sid's house, and one of them is a flirtatious plastic fishing rod with Barbie legs attached to it. If you take a second to think about it, it's pretty clear that the filmmakers were creating a character that was literally a hooker. It's a very clever joke, and we doubt that many children were able to catch on to this play on words.
Congratulations, San Francisco. You've ruined pizza.
Inside Out. Inside Out is one of those classic Disney Pixar movies that, although kids can enjoy it, it's really better suited for adults. Inside Out also features some pretty hilarious jokes that were definitely sprinkled in for adults to enjoy. At one point, Louis Black's anger character says,
I saw a really hairy guy. He looked like a bear.
While kids may think this is a joke about the animal, adults who are aware of LGBTQ slang know that bear is a term meaning a burly and often bearded gay man. Frozen. Frozen absolutely took the world by storm in 2013, and ever since it was released, kids and adults alike just haven't been able to let it go.
Cold never bothered me anyway.
I'm sorry, I am so sorry. The film features lots of fun jokes for the whole family to enjoy.
Watch out for my butt!
But there are also definitely some moments specifically designed to connect with adult viewers.
What's his favorite food?
Sandwiches.
Best friend's name?
Probably John.
Eye color.
Dreamy.
Foot size?
Foot size doesn't matter.
Any adult watching will instantly connect that line with the age-old idea of does size matter, if you know what we mean. Cars. Regardless of how disappointing the sequel was, the first Cars movie was definitely one of Disney's best original concepts, and hit a chord with kids worldwide. The story of Lightning McQueen was a whole lot of fun, but hidden between the races are some pretty sneaky adult jokes. One of the best moments that definitely slipped past kids is written in plain sight on the truck stop sign. The sign advertises that its restaurant features all convertible waitresses. This is, of course, a joke saying that the restaurant has topless waitresses for customers to enjoy. Adults with a keen eye and quick mind might have caught on to this one, but we're pretty sure that no kids did.
Do you mind if I kiss the monkey? Ooh, hairball.
Aladdin. Aladdin is one of the most fun Disney movies ever made, and even though the third film went straight to DVD, Disney still made sure to include some jokes for adults to enjoy while their kids watched the film on repeat. Robin Williams' Genie is undoubtedly the best character in the franchise, and it just so happens that he also delivers the best for adults only moment. Right before Jasmine and Aladdin are set to get hitched, the Genie says these words,
I thought the Earth wasn't supposed to move until the honeymoon.
The phrase earth moving is a metaphor for reaching sexual climax, and it's pretty clear that this is what the big blue magical man is referring to. The Little Mermaid. The hidden adult joke from The Little Mermaid was so risque that the studio was actually forced to edit the moment out when the film was re-released in 2006. But the film's wedding scene featured an R-rated moment that adults watching closely were definitely shocked by. When the minister is officiating the wedding, there seems to be a particularly large bulge protruding from his pelvic region. The internet has argued for years about whether this is just his knees or if it was actually his, bishop's staff. But either way, it was definitely not a moment meant for kids. Zootopia. In 2016, Disney achieved incredible critical and commercial success with their animated hit, Zootopia. Although we could spend time talking about the specific adult jokes hidden in Zootopia, like the Breaking Bad references or the implication that bunnies are very sexually active, it seems like there might be something bigger going on with this movie. Zootopia might technically be a kids' movie, but pretty much the whole plot of the film is centered around ideas of race relations and the war on drugs in America. These aren't ideas meant for young kids, and we have to think that the brains behind Zootopia were just using cute animals to get across a bigger, more important message. MOANA. While the hidden adult joke from MOANA may not be a racy or sexual one, it's definitely one designed for adults to enjoy, or any young kid whose parents actually let them watch Mad Max Fury Road. Halfway through the film, Moana and her mythical traveling companion Maui encounter a tribe of anthropomorphic coconuts called Kakamora. While the two travelers think they're cute at first, that quickly changes when the coconuts turn out to be part of an enormous pirate fleet that ends up chasing them down. While there's no guy playing guitar on the front of a truck like in Fury Road, the costumes and moments featuring characters swinging onto the ship are definitely an homage to the 2015 film, and something that adults who have seen both movies will definitely enjoy. The Incredibles. The Incredibles brought the world a really great superhero movie way before the superhero movie craze started to dominate Hollywood. In the first encounter between Mr. Incredible and Elastigirl, there is definitely some sexual tension in the air.
Ha! Never heard that one before.
While their meeting starts with witty banter, it quickly evolves into a much steamier connection, capped off by a very suggestive line about what Elastigirl can do with her flexibility.
Well, I think you need to be more flexible.
We've heard of people having crushes on anime characters before, but who knew Disney could take fans to that level as well? So there you have it. There's our list of 10 Disney movie moments that only adults will understand. And the answer to the movie emoji is... Did you get the right answer? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to ScreenRant for more fun videos like this one. Thanks for watching.